Hi, this video is about WareWolf Integration Platform. It's a product, an open source solution available on GitHub. Around 5.5 million lines of code is a huge solution with multiple customers, existing customers in the market, international customers. And here the purpose of this video is to evaluate all the pros and cons, ups and downs of this solution, the viability of this solution. I'm going to give you a rundown of the solution. The main components are the designer, the main component that with which you design the orchestrations, and then there is a server part. It's scalable. You could deploy any workflow to any server, and then the logging and operational part that I'm also going to show you. So we'll start off by the first component, number one. You have multiple connectors available, and then you have a scheduler and triggers available. I'm going to first run you through a very simple example so that you can get the feel of the solution. This is a very simple workflow. Basically, it is a load code platform where you drag and drop activities. So essentially, you do not have to program anything mostly. So here you have activities that you drag and drop, and you simply connect them. So 99% of the time you really do not have to customize anything unless you do not have a connector available, in which case it is a highly flexible solution. You can get the connector developed. So it remains everything on the GUI always. So this workflow basically it's nothing but a schedule based workflow. It reads from a public endpoint on a simple get method. What it does is, let me show you again. Basically it invokes a get message on a get HTTP method on this public API and return all of these sets of variables. And then basically it forwards that same data to another public API and posts the same payload like this. So I'm going to run it. So that's the most simplest hello world type of example where you can get the feel of the solution. And you got two options, whether you can interactively debug from the orchestration GUI, or you could view in the browser. The good thing about this solution, every output, I mean each orchestration that is produced is itself a microservice. So which is a latest trend these days. So any two microservices that you are integrating, maybe first microservice is producing the data, another is consuming the data. So this can be your third microservice which can help facilitate the communication between the two. So it will easily gel into your microservices infrastructure. So first I'll do the interactive run so that you can get the feel of the solution. So if you can see on the right side, you can tag any variable as an input or output to the workflow, because these workflows can be nested also. I mean one workflow calling the other one. So you have inputs and outputs, and the outputs you can see they are getting logged. So I have steps. So the step number one is basically pulling the data. It's just, I mean it will invoke the get request, and then it will post the same data to another request. Few variables I am passing there, and then it terminates the workflow. That's a very one simple example. And basically you can schedule it. I'll be showing you the triggers and scheduling part also now. Here we come to another workflow. This workflow basically it's a queue based. I mean I have a RabbitMQ configured in the system that I'm going to show you now, and what it does, it listens to that queue, and any message that arrives in that queue, the solution gets kicked in. By the way, this UI have nothing much to do except designing the workflows. Everything else, as I already mentioned, is produced as a microservice. If you notice here is a microservice tag. That web view I'm going to show you now shortly. And here we have another workflow. Let me show you the queues also first, based on which basically this workflow gets triggered. So the trigger part is opening. Here I have this queue basically. This is test queue number 2, the queue name, and this is Rabbit queue source that I have configured, and then some credential and the common settings are there for the RabbitMQ source. And then if I come back to the workflow, this is the workflow that I was talking about. So basically it does nothing. Again, it just listens to what is the output of the RabbitMQ. If you see the object coming in as an input to this workflow, this input is definitely coming from that trigger event, and then it is doing nothing except posting to MongoDB the same record. And then the result of the operation is also kept in another log file, and whatever comes in is also kept in a log file, so that I can demonstrate you the thing. So for example, if I go to my RabbitMQ instance, which is running as a Docker container in the same machine. So if for example I'm going to generate a test payload, let's say here we have, yeah, I'll generate, this is my new test payload message. Let's suppose this is what I generate as a base 64 string, and then this is going to be the message for the RabbitMQ. If you notice, this is the same queue, test queue2, and I'm going to publish this message. This message is published in the queue, and if I try to get message, the message is already gone. As I said, it's configured in the integration engine, so it's consuming the message automatically. So the message is already gone and consumed by the engine. And if I come back to the workflow, so I can show you that basically it's mapped to show everything out.log file. That is the file where it is dumping everything. So if I come to that folder, out.log, so you see it is just modified now, and it has got something, and I've got the success message that the message have successfully been processed. So this is how basically a normal trigger based workflow works. And another complex scenario is, for example, you have a scheduled backup engine where it takes backup or does any activity along with the backup at a scheduled time, maybe nightly or whatever. So you have a complex workflow here where you have loop and all those things, and it can email all those connectors it have. So that is one thing. If I go to the settings, I can show you more things, how it basically does the persistence thing, how it resumes the workflow. Basically it have this persistence concept. It uses the .NET hangfire basically to resume and store the state of the workflows, and the hangfire portal is also there. It's a complete solution for that is already also bundled. How, I mean, to monitor the background jobs and their history, retries, recurring, everything aspect is there, and number of jobs also you can see, and they vary with the timing, and the servers also. Each workflow that you can basically deploy to any server, it's a extremely scalable solution. And then there is another web portals dedicated for the logging also, for whatever workflow is happening, that you can also see here. And if I come back to the code base, basically it have a lot of work done in the web part, web solution also. It's an Angular based solution basically. And overall what I would say is it's a powerful solution, open source. It can be commercially used only if you want to have a support, then it's licensed, you have to buy the license support, but that is mostly not needed if you are down to technical yourself, because it's very explanatory type of solution, very straightforward. And the good part is operationally it's very good. I mean, the operational portals are there dedicated that are very needed for the integration platform. It's not just about designing the solution. However, there is one downside, that the GUI by default it's WPF. WPF basically it can be ported to the web version. There are third-party products also, and there are steps available. But by default they are encouraging the WPF part, because again you are only developing the workflow. I mean, on the WPF part. As far as its execution is concerned, for example, if I show you the simple workflow, as I said already, that everything it produces basically is a microservice. So if I show you from here, so if I'll invoke this microservice, for example. So this execution of microservice is exactly like invoking that workflow. So that is another good part of the solution. Everything is basically triggered or geared towards microservice, and produces microservice, a web-based solution that you can put on Kubernetes or another cluster of yours as a scalable solution. So that's about it. It's a .NET based solution. Most of the code base is .NET. Some Angular is there for the web solutions that I included, like monitoring and Handfire dashboard and the logging solution. And then if I give you a little bit rundown on the code, they have the BI portal also that I have to yet explore basically. Uh, yeah. So this is the thing. Web.ui. Yeah. Okay. So it's a quite huge solution. I've given you some flavor of it. The main components are basically, this is an engine. It can run on multiple machines. You can depute any particular workflow to any machine. And then there is a Node.js Angular based front end which is involved. And then this WPF dashboard that I've already shown you. Polling can be done. I didn't show you the scheduling part that you can do. For the purpose of debugging, I just kept it simple. Otherwise, it would just continue to loop in. You could just put this workflow on a simple scheduler here. I mean, schedule this workflow simply here. You could nominate any workflow. Like for example, we were talking about the workflow number 1. So you could just select any of your workflow here and just, for example, I select this one, and I can just nominate any frequency I feel like. It will get triggered and repeat as much as you want, hours, minutes, or whatever frequency you have in mind. You can even, I mean, it's as powerful as any task schedule can be, and you could specify any repetition on that also. The connectors are many. You have mostly, I mean, all the big integration artifact available already in here, and furthermore, it's very easy to develop. For example, I could easily develop a connector for the MongoDB if I show you again. I mean, this MongoDB, if you notice, is a custom connector. Let me try to open and show you. Yeah. So if you see, it's a custom .NET adapter. I could easily patch messages to the MongoDB through using this connector. And as I already ran and show you that it can successfully submit to the MongoDB without any issues. So that's about it. Thank you.